First contact and cultural shock. The Galactic Confederation had existed for millennia, a tapestry of alien civilizations woven together by diplomacy, trade, and shared knowledge. They had seen empires rise and fall, witnessed the birth and death of stars, and thought they had experienced all the universe had to offer. They were wrong. On an unremarkable day in the Galactic Standard Year 7526, a small ship appeared at the edge of Confederation space. Its design was crude by their standards, its technology primitive, but it was the beings inside that would change everything. Admiral Zixloria of the Confederation Navy stared at the viewscreen, her four eyes blinking in rapid succession. The alien vessel was so small, barely larger than a Confederation escape pod. How had it managed interstellar travel? "Hail them," she ordered, her tentacles rippling with curiosity. The communication officer, a methane-breathing Gorgon, complied. Moments later, a face appeared on the screen. It was unlike anything Zixloria had ever seen. 2 eyes, a protruding nasal structure, and a mouth full of flat, white teeth. The being's head was covered in a forest of dark filaments. "Greetings," the alien said, its mouth moving in a way that made Zixloria feel slightly nauseated. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Curiosity. We come in peace." And so, humanity entered the galactic stage. The next few cycles were a whirlwind of activity. The humans, as they called themselves, were invited to the Confederation capital on Nexus Prime. Scientists, diplomats, and military personnel from 100 species scrambled to learn everything they could about these newcomers. What they discovered both fascinated and terrified them. Earth, the humans' homeworld, was classified as a death world, a planet so hostile that it should have been impossible for sapient life to evolve. Gravity nearly twice that of Nexus Prime, extreme temperature variations, powerful storms, and a host of predators and diseases that would have wiped out most Confederation species in days. Yet the humans had not only survived but thrived. They spoke of swimming in planetary oceans for fun, of climbing frozen mountains because they were there, of keeping predators as pets. When shown footage of a Nexus Prime hurricane, a gentle breeze by Earth standards, they laughed and called it pleasant weather. But it was their history that truly shocked the Confederation. The humans spoke casually of wars that had engulfed their entire planet, of weapons that could annihilate cities in the blink of an eye. They had nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, yet each time they had pulled back from the brink, growing stronger and more united. As the days passed, more human ships arrived, each bringing new wonders and terrors. Their music moved many aliens to tears, their art sparked riots of emotion, and their food, those few dishes that weren't toxic to alien biology, became an overnight sensation. But it was in the field of physical prowess that humans truly shone. In a friendly sports competition organized to welcome the newcomers, human athletes shattered every record in the book. They ran faster, jumped higher, and lifted more than any Confederation species. A human child playfully wrestling with a gronoid, a species known for its strength, sent the alien to the medical bay with 3 broken bones. The Confederation Council debated endlessly about what to do with these strange, terrifying, fascinating creatures. Some argued for immediate quarantine, fearing the humans' potential for violence. Others saw potential allies against the mythical Galaxy Eaters, a bogeyman threat that had kept the Confederation united for centuries. In the end, curiosity won out over fear. The humans were invited to join the Confederation on a probationary basis. They would be allowed to establish an embassy on Nexus Prime and participate in cultural exchanges, but their military presence would be strictly limited. Captain Chen, now acting as Earth's temporary ambassador, accepted the terms with grace. But there was a glint in her eye that made Admiral Zixloria uneasy. It was as if the human knew something the Confederation didn't. As the first human embassy was being constructed, a group of Confederation scientists approached Chen with a request. They wanted to study human physiology up close, to understand how these Deathworlders had become so resilient. Chen agreed, on one condition: the studies would be reciprocal. For every test performed on a human scientist would be allowed to study a Confederation species. The scientists eagerly agreed, not realizing the Pandora's box they were opening. Human curiosity, it turned out, was as potent a force as their physical abilities. Within weeks, human scientists had made breakthroughs in xenobiology that had eluded the Confederation for centuries. They approached alien physiology with fresh eyes, unencumbered by long-held assumptions. Their out-of-the-box thinking, a phrase that confused many aliens until they realized humans actually used boxes to store things, led to revolutionary medical treatments and technological innovations. But it was a young human engineer named Dr. Aiden Kovic who truly turned the Confederation upside down. While studying the Confederation's faster-than-light drive, he had an epiphany. With a few modest adjustments, he theorized, the efficiency of the drive could be increased tenfold. At first, the Confederation engineers scoffed. The drive had been perfected over thousands of years. How could this newcomer, whose species had barely mastered interstellar travel, improve upon it? But Kovic was persistent. He ran simulation after simulation, refining his ideas. Finally, Admiral Zixloria, intrigued by the humans' confidence, authorized a test run. The results were beyond anyone's wildest dreams. The modified drive didn't just meet Kovic's predictions, it exceeded them. A journey that once took a Confederation ship a full cycle could now be completed in mere days. As news of the breakthrough spread, the attitude towards humans began to shift. Fear gave way to respect, suspicion to admiration. The Confederation began to see the potential of these strange Deathworlders. But not everyone was pleased with this turn of events. In the shadows of the Confederation, ancient powers stirred. The humans' rapid rise threatened carefully laid plans that had been in motion for millennia. As the first part of our story draws to a close, the stage is set for a conflict that will shake the galaxy to its core. Humanity, with its unique blend of resilience, curiosity, and adaptability, has unwittingly positioned itself at the center of a cosmic storm. Little did they know, their greatest challenge, and their finest hour, was yet to come. The Galactic Trial. As humanity's influence in the Galactic Confederation grew, so did the whispers of discontent. Some species, particularly those from worlds similar to Earth, saw humans as kindred spirits and potential allies. Others, especially the oldest and most established civilizations, viewed them as upstarts at best and existential threats at worst. The Arcturian Dominion, one of the founding members of the Confederation, was particularly vocal in its opposition. The Arcturians, with their silicon-based biology and glacial thought processes, found the humans' quick thinking and adaptability deeply unsettling. High Chancellor Zorn of Arcturus, a being who looked like a sentient crystal formation, called for an emergency session of the Confederation Council. These humans, Zorn's melodic voice resonated through the Grand Chamber, have upset the balance we have maintained for eons. Their reckless advancement threatens the very fabric of our society. I propose a galactic trial. A murmur rippled through the assembly. The galactic trial was an ancient tradition, rarely invoked. It was a series of challenges designed to test a species' worthiness to participate in galactic affairs. No race had been subjected to it in over 10,000 years. Admiral Zixloria, who had become something of an advocate for the humans, protested. The humans have done nothing to warrant such an extreme measure. They have shared their knowledge freely, improved our technology, and shown nothing but goodwill. But Zorn was adamant. Their very nature is a threat. They evolve too quickly, adapt too readily. If left unchecked, they could dominate us all within a few generations. The debate raged for days. Finally, a compromise was reached. The humans would face the galactic trial, but with a twist. They would be allowed to choose champions from among the Confederation species to stand with them. It was an unprecedented concession, one that recognized the unique bonds humans had formed in their short time in galactic society. When informed of the Council's decision, the human ambassador, Sarah Chen, surprised everyone by accepting without protest. "We welcome the opportunity to prove ourselves," she said, her voice steady and her gaze unflinching. "Humanity has faced trials throughout its history. This will be no different." The trial was set to begin in one standard galactic month. As news spread, the response from Earth was swift and decisive. Instead of sending their top government officials or military leaders, they assembled a team that showcased the diversity of human achievement: scientists, artists, athletes, and philosophers. Leading the team was Dr. Aiden Kovac, the engineer whose drive modifications had revolutionized space travel. Alongside him stood Maria Hernandez, a renowned diplomat known for her ability to bridge seemingly insurmountable cultural divides. Rounding out the core team were Yuki Tanaka, an Olympic decathlete with a degree in xenobiology, and Oluwaseun Oladipo, a polymath whose work spanned quantum physics and classical music. As their ship, aptly named Prometheus, docked at the Nexus Prime spaceport, they were greeted by a cacophony of alien media. Cameras of all shapes and sizes buzzed around them, accompanied by a babble of questions in 100 different languages. Dr. Kovac stepped forward, his easy smile belying the gravity of the situation. "We come here not just to defend humanity's place in the galaxy, but to celebrate the diversity and potential of all sentient life. We look forward to the challenges ahead and the opportunity to learn from them." The first challenge of the galactic trial was one of diplomacy. The human team, along with their chosen allies, an empathic Delphinian, a logic-driven Vulpine, and a shape-shifting Protean, were tasked with negotiating a peace treaty between two species that had been at war for centuries. The Goraks and the Sylphids were as different as two species could be. The Goraks were silicon-based creatures that communicated through seismic vibrations, while the Sylphids were gaseous beings that expressed themselves through complex color patterns. Their conflict stemmed from a fundamental misunderstanding. What the Goraks perceived as communication, the Sylphids interpreted as aggression. For days, the human team and their allies worked tirelessly. They developed a translation matrix that could convert seismic waves into color patterns, and vice versa. But it was Maria Hernandez who made the breakthrough. She realized that both species shared a deep appreciation for mathematical harmonies. In a daring move, she proposed a joint art project, a massive crystalline structure that would resonate with the Goraks' vibrations and shimmer with the Sylphids' colors, creating a symphony of math and beauty. The two species were so taken with the idea that they agreed to a ceasefire to work on the project together. As the Goraks and Sylphid representatives signed the peace treaty, using their new shared language of mathematical art, the council chamber erupted in applause. Even High Chancellor Zorn seemed impressed, though he quickly masked it with his usual stoic demeanor. The second challenge was one of scientific innovation. The teams were given access to an asteroid rich in an unknown element and tasked with finding a practical application for it within a standard week. Dr. Kovac and Yuki Tanaka took the lead on this challenge. They worked around the clock, pushing themselves to the limits of human endurance. Their Vulpine ally provided crucial insights, its logical mind finding patterns that the more intuitive humans missed. On the sixth day, bleary-eyed but triumphant, they presented their findings to the council. The element, which they dubbed Nexusium in honor of their hosts, had unique quantum properties. When properly manipulated, it could store and transmit quantum information across vast distances instantaneously, potentially revolutionizing both computing and communication. The implications were staggering. With Nexusium, faster-than-light communication would become possible, linking the far-flung corners of the Confederation in real time. The Council was visibly excited, already discussing potential applications. But it was the third challenge that would truly test the limits of human ingenuity and spirit. The teams were transported to Infernus, a volatile planet on the edge of Confederation space. Their task: to establish a sustainable colony in one of the harshest environments known to the galaxy. Infernus was a nightmare world of constant volcanic activity, toxic atmosphere, and gravity nearly twice that of Earth. Most Confederation species could survive on its surface for only a few minutes, even with the most advanced protective gear. As the human team stepped out of their lander, the ground shaking beneath their feet and the sky blazing with volcanic lightning, Oluwaseun Oladipo grinned and said, "Reminds me of home during monsoon season. Bit chilly though, isn't it?" His teammates laughed, the sound of human humor strange and wonderful in the alien hellscape. They had trained for this, pushing themselves to the limits in Earth's most extreme environments. Now, it was time to put that training to the test. Over the next month, the human team and their allies worked miracles. They established a geothermal power plant, harnessing the planet's volcanic fury to power their fledgling colony. They developed new materials that could withstand the corrosive atmosphere, using principles that left Confederation scientists in awe. But their crowning achievement was the biodome. Using a combination of Earth plants genetically modified to thrive in the harsh conditions and native Infernian organisms, they created a self-sustaining ecosystem. Within weeks, the interior of the dome was a lush green oasis amidst the burning chaos of Infernus. As the Confederation observation team entered the dome, they were struck speechless. Trees reached towards the artificial sky, their leaves shimmering with bioluminescence. Streams of clean water, filtered through layers of engineered bacteria, flowed through the landscape, and in the center, a group of humans and their alien allies sat around a campfire, roasting marshmallows and telling stories. It was a scene of tranquility and triumph that none had thought possible on Infernus. It spoke not just to human resilience and ingenuity, but to their fundamental spirit, their ability to find joy and create beauty even in the harshest of circumstances. As news of the Infernus colony's success spread throughout the Confederation, public opinion shifted dramatically. Humans were no longer seen as just potential threats or useful allies. They had become a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the face of impossible odds, life could find a way to thrive. But even as the human team celebrated their successes, dark clouds were gathering on the horizon. The ancient powers that had been watching from the shadows were not pleased with this turn of events. The humans had proven themselves far more capable than anyone had anticipated. As the galactic trial drew to a close, the stage was set for a confrontation that would determine not just humanity's fate, but the future of the entire Confederation. Unexpected alliance. As the dust settled from the galactic trial, the Confederation found itself at a crossroads. The humans had not only passed every challenge thrown at them, but had done so with a flair and ingenuity that left many species in awe. However, their very success had intensified the fears of those who saw humanity as a threat. The Arcturian Dominion, led by the ever-cautious High Chancellor Zorn, called for strict limitations on human expansion and technology sharing. Others, impressed by humanity's achievements, argued for full integration into the Confederation. In the midst of this debate, an unexpected voice spoke up. Hifax, the reclusive representative of the enigmatic Scatheri, requested an audience with the human delegation. The Scatheri were one of the oldest species in the Confederation, so ancient that most of their history had faded into myth. They rarely involved themselves in galactic politics, preferring to watch and observe from afar. The meeting took place in the Hanging Gardens of Nexus Prime, a marvel of bioengineering where plants from 1,000 worlds grew in harmonious symbiosis. Dr. Aiden Kovac and Ambassador Sarah Chen represented humanity, while Admiral Zix Loria attended as a neutral observer. Kfax was a being of pure energy, its form shimmering and shifting like a living aurora. When it spoke, its words seemed to bypass sound altogether, resonating directly in the minds of its listeners. "We have watched your kind with great interest," Kfax began, its thoughts tinged with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "You are young, yet you have achieved much. But there is much you do not know, dangers you cannot yet comprehend." Ambassador Chen leaned forward, her eyes sharp with interest. "What kind of dangers?" Kfax's form pulsed, a gesture that might have been a sigh. "Long ago, before your ancestors had mastered fire, there was another race like yours. The precursors. They too were adaptable, curious, quick to learn and quicker to change. They spread across the galaxy like wildfire, bringing wonders and terrors in equal measure. Dr. Kovic frowned. What happened to them? They grew too quickly, pushed too far, Cathax replied. They awakened something that should have remained sleeping. The Void Hunters. A chill ran through the assembled group. Even Admiral Zixloria, usually unflappable, felt her tentacles curl in instinctive fear. Cathax continued, the Void Hunters are ancient beyond reckoning, a force of the cosmos itself. They seek out civilizations that grow too rapidly, that upset the balance of the galaxy. They culled the precursors, and the few that survived retreated into hidden enclaves, shadows of their former selves. And you think these Void Hunters might come for us? Chen asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the revelation. We fear it is already too late, Cathax replied. Your rapid advancement, your victory in the galactic trial, it has drawn their attention. Our seers have had visions of darkness spreading across the stars. The hunters awaken once more. For a moment, silence reigned in the garden. Then, to everyone's surprise, Dr. Kovic laughed. It wasn't a sound of humor, but of determination, of challenge accepted. With all due respect, he said, meeting Cathax's luminous gaze, humanity has faced extinction-level threats before. Ice ages, pandemics, our own nuclear weapons. Each time, we've come back stronger. These Void Hunters, they're just the next challenge to overcome. Cathax's form flickered, a gesture that might have been surprise or admiration. You do not understand the scale of the threat. Then help us understand, Chen interjected. Work with us. You have knowledge, we have adaptability. Together, we might stand a chance. Admiral Zixloria, who had been silent until now, spoke up. The ambassador has a point. The Confederation has grown complacent over the millennia. Perhaps it's time for a change. Cathax was silent for a long moment, its form shifting through a kaleidoscope of colors as it considered. Finally, it said, very well. We will share what we know. But be warned, the path ahead is fraught with peril. And so, an unlikely alliance was formed. The Scatheri, with their ancient wisdom and cosmic awareness, joined forces with humanity and their Confederation allies. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. On Earth, governments and corporations redirected all resources towards defense and technological advancement. The lunar and Martian colonies were fortified, turned into backup plans should the worst come to pass. Dr. Kovic led a team of human and alien scientists in a crash program to upgrade the Confederation's defenses, incorporating Scatheri metaphysical concepts with cutting-edge human innovation. Meanwhile, Ambassador Chen worked tirelessly to unite the Confederation. Her diplomacy, combined with the urgency of the Void Hunter threat, began to break down centuries-old rivalries and prejudices. Species that had been bitter enemies found common cause in the face of cosmic annihilation. But even as the alliance grew stronger, the first signs of the coming storm appeared. On the fringes of Confederation space, entire systems went dark. Scouting missions found only empty worlds, stripped of all life and resources. The Void Hunters were no longer a distant threat. They were here. As the gravity of the situation became clear, panic began to spread. Some species talked of fleeing to the unknown regions of the galaxy. Others proposed a preemptive strike, though against what, no one could say. It was in this atmosphere of fear and uncertainty that humanity once again surprised their alien allies. Instead of succumbing to despair, humans across the Confederation threw themselves into preparation with almost joyful determination. They organized, they planned, they innovated. A human miner on a distant asteroid belt invented a new form of sensor array that could detect the quantum fluctuations left in the Void Hunter's wake. A team of human chefs worked with alien botanists to develop high-energy ration packs that could sustain a dozen different species in combat conditions. Human artists and musicians created works that boosted morale across species lines, their art resonating with emotions that transcended biology. This spirit proved infectious. Inspired by human resilience, other species found their own courage. The Goraks and Sylphids, former enemies turned allies thanks to human diplomacy, combined their unique perceptions to create a galaxy-wide early warning system. The crystalline Arcturians, who had once been humanity's staunchest critics, used their silicon-based biology to interface directly with shipboard computers, dramatically improving reaction times in space combat simulations. As the Alliance prepared for war, Cthax shared more of the Scatheri's knowledge. The Void Hunters, it explained, were not truly alive in any sense that carbon-based life could understand. They were more akin to cosmic antibodies, reacting to what they perceived as the infection of rapidly expanding civilizations. But that's just it, Dr. Kovac exclaimed during one strategy session. If they're like antibodies, then we need to make ourselves seem like part of the natural order of the galaxy. Not an infection to be wiped out, but a symbiote, a beneficial presence. This insight led to a radical new approach. Instead of focusing solely on military might, the Alliance began to look for ways to work with the fabric of space-time itself. They studied the cosmic background radiation, the ebb and flow of dark matter, the very pulse of the universe. Humanity's gift for thinking outside the box proved crucial. They proposed ideas that the other species would never have considered, from using the quantum entanglement of virtual particles to communicate across vast distances, to harnessing the energy of collapsing neutron stars as a power source. But time was running short. The Void Hunters were approaching. Their presence felt like a growing shadow across the galaxy. The Alliance had made great strides, but would it be enough? As the first direct confrontation loomed, Admiral Zix Loria found Dr. Kovac in his lab, working on yet another prototype defense system. "How do you do it?" she asked. "How do you keep going in the face of such overwhelming odds?" Kovac looked up from his work, a tired but determined smile on his face. "It's simple, really. We don't know how to give up. It's not in our nature. As long as there's a chance, no matter how small, we'll keep fighting." Zix Loria considered this, her tentacles rippling in thought. "You humans are truly remarkable," she said finally. "Win or lose, the galaxy will never be the same after this." As if to punctuate her words, alarms began to blare throughout the station. On every screen, the same message flashed. "Void Hunter Fleet DTKT. All Purosonennial to battle stations." The moment they had been preparing for had arrived. As Dr. Kovac rushed to the command center, he felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. Humanity had come to the stars seeking knowledge and adventure. They had found both, and now they faced the greatest challenge in their history. But they would face it as they had faced every challenge before, with courage, with ingenuity, and with an unshakable determination to survive and thrive. The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The cosmic threat emerges. The Void Hunters arrived not with a bang, but with a silence so profound it seemed to swallow the very stars. Across the Confederation, communication networks went dark, quantum entanglement links snapped, and faster-than-light travel became impossible. It was as if the laws of physics themselves were being rewritten. In the command center of the Nexus Prime Defense Station, Dr. Aiden Kovac watched in horror as system after system winked out on the galactic map. "They're isolating us," he muttered, his mind racing to find a solution. "Cutting us off from each other before the attack even begins." Ambassador Sarah Chen, her usual diplomatic poise, strained but unbroken, turned to Cthax. "Is this how it happened before? With the precursors?" The energy being pulsed with a dim, sorrowful light. "Yes, and no. The precursors fought back with unimaginable weapons, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time. In the end, they did as much damage to the galaxy as the Void Hunters." Admiral Zix Loria's tentacles writhed in agitation. "Then what hope do we have? Our weapons are nothing compared to what the precursors had." It was Yuki Tanaka, the Olympic athlete turned xenobiologist, who spoke up. "Maybe that's our advantage," she said, her eyes bright with sudden inspiration. "We're not trying to fight fire with fire. We're trying something new." Dr. Kovic nodded, catching on to her train of thought. "The Cosmic Symbiosis Project. If we can implement it on a large enough scale, we might be able to show the Void Hunters that we're not a threat to the galaxy's balance," Chen finished. "But how do we do that when we're cut off from most of our resources?" For a moment, silence reigned in the command center. Then, unexpectedly, it was broken by a sound that seemed out of place in the grim atmosphere: laughter. All eyes turned to Oluwaseun Oladipo, the polymath who had been quietly working on a console in the corner. "Sorry," he said, not looking sorry at all. "It's just, this reminds me of a puzzle I once solved. The key isn't to match your opponent's strength, but to change the nature of the game entirely." He stood up, his fingers dancing over the holographic interface. "Look, the Void Hunters are disrupting our normal means of communication and travel. But what if we don't need those? What if we use the very disruption they're causing as our medium?" The idea was audacious, borderline insane. But as Oladipo explained his theory, using a mixture of advanced physics and musical analogies, excitement began to build in the room. They couldn't fight the Void Hunters directly, but maybe they could turn the Hunters' own actions against them. Over the next few hours, as the Void Hunters' influence spread across the galaxy, a desperate plan took shape. Using the quantum fluctuations caused by the Hunters' reality-warping presence, they could create a new kind of network. It wouldn't allow for fast communication or travel, but it would let them coordinate on a galactic scale. But implementing this plan would require sacrifice. Someone would need to get close to the Void Hunters, close enough to seed the initial network nodes. It would be a one-way trip, with virtually no chance of survival. Before anyone could volunteer, Cthax's form brightened with a blinding intensity. "We will do this," the ancient being said. "The Scatheri have watched for too long. It is time we took an active role in shaping the galaxy's fate." As the Scatheri ships prepared to depart on their suicide mission, Dr. Kovic worked feverishly to finalize the Cosmic Symbiosis Project. The idea was to create a galactic-scale quantum field that would integrate the Confederation's activities with the natural processes of the universe. If it worked, they would no longer appear as an infection to be purged, but as a natural and necessary part of cosmic evolution. Hours passed like years. The Void Hunters' influence crept ever closer to the core worlds of the Confederation. Species that had once been bitter enemies now huddled together in fear and desperate hope. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes looked to the skies, wondering if this would be their last glimpse of the stars. Then, just as despair threatened to overwhelm them, a signal came through. Faint at first, but growing stronger. The quantum network was forming. The Scatheri's sacrifice had not been in vain. Through this new, strange medium, reports began to trickle in from across the galaxy. The news was grim. Entire systems lay lifeless, stripped of energy and matter by the Void Hunters' passage. But there were sparks of hope, too. On some worlds, the cosmic symbiosis field was taking hold, creating bubbles of normalcy in the chaos. With the network in place, the next phase of the plan could begin. Dr. Kovic's voice, translated into 1,000 alien languages, echoed across the stars. "To all sentient beings of the Confederation, this is our darkest hour, but also our greatest opportunity. We face an enemy that sees us as a disease. Let us show them that we are, instead, the galaxy's immune system." What followed was perhaps the greatest coordinated effort in the history of the galaxy. On every world not yet touched by the Void Hunters, beings of all species worked to implement the cosmic symbiosis protocols. Massive arrays were constructed to channel the fundamental forces of the universe. Planet-wide meditation sessions, participated in by trillions, sought to align the collective consciousness of entire species with the cosmic flow. Humanity, true to form, approached the task with a mixture of scientific rigor and creative flair. They set up quantum resonators in the most unlikely places: deep ocean trenches, volcanic calderas, the eyes of great storms. They composed symphonies based on the music of the spheres and broadcast them into space. They even organized galaxy-wide art projects, creating mandalas of light visible from orbit. But would it be enough? As the Void Hunters approached the core worlds of the Confederation, doubt began to creep in. The cosmic symbiosis field was growing, but so slowly. Too slowly, many feared. It was in this moment of crisis that humanity once again showed why they had become such a catalyst in galactic affairs. In a move that stunned their allies, the human governments announced that they were evacuating Earth. Not out of fear, President Yarambeki explained in a broadcast that reached every corner of the Confederation, but to show our absolute commitment to this new galactic order we're creating. Earth is our cradle, but the galaxy is our home now. The logistics of moving billions of people off-world in a matter of days were mind-boggling. But the humans attacked the problem with their characteristic blend of determination and ingenuity. Every ship capable of spaceflight was pressed into service. Teleportation technology, still in its experimental stages, was rolled out on a massive scale. As the last transports lifted off from Earth's surface, the planet itself became the linchpin of the cosmic symbiosis field. The entire world was transformed into a vast quantum computer, its core repurposed to channel the very energies of creation. The site of Earth, birthplace of humanity, a world of deep oceans and soaring mountains, of vast deserts and lush forests, glowing with otherworldly energy as its children scattered to the cosmic winds, became a rallying point for the entire Confederation. If humans could sacrifice their homeworld for the greater good, what excuse did anyone else have for holding back? A new wave of cooperation swept the galaxy. Ancient weapons, long hidden away, were brought out and repurposed for the Cosmic Symbiosis Project. Planetary cores were converted into dimensional anchors. The collective knowledge of 1,000,000 years of galactic civilization was brought to bear on the problem. And slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the tide began to turn. The Void Hunters' advance slowed, then stopped. In some sectors, they even began to retreat. But the battle was far from over. The Void Hunters, sensing the change in their prey, began to adapt. The real test was yet to come, and the fate of not just the Confederation, but of all life in the galaxy, hung in the balance. As the two forces, the cosmic symbiosis field and the reality warping power of the Void Hunters, clashed on a scale beyond human comprehension, Dr. Kovic found himself reminded of an old Earth saying, "We're not out of the woods yet." Indeed, they weren't. But for the first time since the crisis began, there was real, tangible hope. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Humanity's finest hour. The clash between the cosmic symbiosis field and the Void Hunters reached its crescendo in a region of space that would come to be known as the Nexus of Fate. Here, the fundamental forces of the universe swirled in a maelstrom of unimaginable power as two opposing visions for the galaxy's future battle for supremacy. On one side were the Void Hunters, ancient and implacable, seeing themselves as the universe's immune system, purging what they perceived as the infection of rapidly expanding civilizations. On the other, the united forces of the Confederation, led by humanity's audacious plan to integrate themselves into the very fabric of cosmic evolution. Dr. Aidan Kovic, along with a team of the brightest minds from across the Confederation, had set up a makeshift command center on a repurposed asteroid at the edge of the conflict zone. From here, they coordinated the efforts of trillions of beings across thousands of light years, all working in concert to strengthen the cosmic symbiosis field. "It's working," Yuki Tanaka exclaimed, her eyes fixed on the holographic display that showed the ebb and flow of cosmic energies. The Void Hunters are losing ground. But their celebration was premature. Even as the words left her mouth, alarms began to blare. The Void Hunters, in a move that defied all predictions, had begun to merge into a single, unimaginably vast entity. "By all that's holy," Admiral Zixloria whispered, her tentacles curling in shock. "They're becoming a singularity." The implications were staggering. If the Void Hunters succeeded in their transformation, they would become a living black hole, capable of devouring entire star systems in seconds. The cosmic symbiosis field, for all its power, would be useless against such a force. In that moment of crisis, it was Oluwaseun Oladipo who provided the spark of inspiration they needed. "If they can change, so can we," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "We've been thinking of the symbiosis field as a shield, a defense. What if we made it something more proactive?" Dr. Kovic caught on immediately. "You're talking about weaponizing the field. But the energy requirements would be enormous," Oladipo finished. "Yes, but not impossible. Not if we use everything we have." The plan that formed over the next few minutes was audacious to the point of insanity. They would use the cosmic symbiosis field not just as a defense, but as a galactic-scale reality manipulation engine. By channeling the combined will and energy of every sentient being in the Confederation, they might be able to rewrite the laws of physics themselves, if only for a moment. But the cost would be unimaginable. Every world, every ship, every individual connected to the field would need to pour all their energy into this final desperate gambit. Many would not survive the attempt. As the plan was relayed across the quantum network, a hush fell over the galaxy. This was it, the moment that would decide the fate of not just the Confederation, but of all life as they knew it. Then, from Earth, transformed into the heart of the cosmic symbiosis field, came a message that would echo through history. "We started this journey," President Mbiki's voice rang out, strong and clear despite the vast distances. "We'll see it through to the end. Earth stands ready." One by one, other worlds joined in. The crystalline spires of Arcturus Prime glowed with inner fire as the silicon-based Arcturians committed their entire civilization to the effort. The gas giants of the Sylphid Nebula pulsed with colors never before seen as their gaseous inhabitants poured their essence into the field. Even the reclusive remnants of the precursors, hiding in the darkest corners of the galaxy, added their ancient power to the mix. This was more than a battle for survival. It was a refutation of the very idea that life was a cosmic accident to be purged. As the Void Hunter's singularity grew, threatening to engulf everything in its path, Dr. Kovic gave the final command. "Now," he shouted, his voice carrying the weight of 100 billion lives. "Give it everything you've got." What happened next defied description. The cosmic symbiosis field, powered by the combined will and energy of an entire galaxy of life, burst into radiant bloom. It met the encroaching darkness of the Void Hunter's singularity in a clash that warped the very fabric of space-time. For a moment that stretched into eternity, two fundamental forces of the universe, the drive to create and the need to maintain balance, struggled for supremacy. Stars flickered and died, only to be reborn in the next instant. Planets shifted orbits, galaxies spiraled in impossible dances. And at the heart of it all was humanity, the upstart species that had dared to challenge the cosmic order, not through force of arms, but through sheer, indomitable will and creativity. When reality finally stabilized, the galaxy was forever changed. The Void Hunters were gone, not destroyed, but transformed. The singularity had collapsed in on itself, becoming a new form of cosmic consciousness that spread throughout the universe like a benevolent mist. The Confederation, too, was irrevocably altered. The barriers between species had been burned away in the crucible of shared sacrifice. What emerged was a new form of galactic society, one in which diversity was not just accepted but celebrated as the key to cosmic resilience. As the dust settled and the full magnitude of what had been accomplished began to sink in, Dr. Kovic found himself standing with Ambassador Chen, Admiral Zixloria, and Kithax, looking out at the transformed galaxy. "We did it," Chen said softly, her voice filled with wonder. "We actually did it." Kvax's form shimmered with a light that seemed to echo the newborn stars around them. "You did more than save the galaxy," the ancient being said. "You've set it on a new path of evolution. The ripples of this event will be felt for eons to come." Admiral Zixloria's tentacles waved in what Kovac had come to recognize as a gesture of deep emotion. "I must confess," she said, "when your species first arrived on the galactic stage, I thought you would bring chaos and destruction. I never imagined that we'd bring chaos and creation." Kovac finished with a smile. "That's humanity for you. We're full of surprises." As they stood there, watching the galaxy reshape itself into new and wondrous forms, each of them knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning. Humanity had proven itself on the cosmic stage, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as catalysts for change and growth. The stars beckoned, filled with new mysteries to unravel, new challenges to overcome. And humanity, along with their allies in the transformed Confederation, stood ready to meet them all. For in facing the greatest threat they had ever known, they had discovered their greatest strength: the power of unity, of creativity, and of the unquenchable spirit that had driven them from their first steps on Earth to the farthest reaches of the cosmos. The galaxy would never be the same, and that perhaps was humanity's greatest gift of all.